Hello and thank you for joining us. This is What Now. I am Precious Amayo. Now, despite ceaseless pressure from the U.S. President Donald Trump on India to stop buying Moscow's oil, President Vladimir Putin says Russia stands ready to provide uninterrupted shipments of fuel to India. President Putin made this comment during a joint media briefing with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his visit to India. The U.S. hit India with an additional 25% tariff over its purchases of Russian oil, arguing it was funding Russia for war against Ukraine. Now, just before the briefing of journalists, President Putin and Prime Minister Modi signed cooperation agreements. Mr. Modi spoke of new India consulates opening up in Russia. The Russian leader's visit comes against the backdrop of U.S. efforts to broker peace between his nation and Ukraine. For analysis of the trade relations between Russia and India and what this means for the rest of the world, especially U.S., a partner at Gainful Solutions in Washington, D.C. joins me on What Now. Good to have you join us, Mr. Hayes.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you.
Now, let's look at this thoroughly. Both countries want to signal that despite mounting international pressure, for Russia, it will be the attempt to end the war with Ukraine, and for India, it will be the attempt to stop buying Russian oil. Now, they want to signal that despite this mounting pressure, they are each other's formidable partners. But beyond this small screen, what is the geopolitical optics of this?
Well, I think that India and Russia need each other very badly right now, if not in the long term. And I think also in the long term, India now gets between 30 and 40% of its oil from Russia. That's an absolute essential component of its economy. So it really needs to continue that, despite whatever pressure. Also, I think the figure is 38% of its defense supplies come from Russia as well. So those two items alone make the relationship essential for India. And the flip side is that for Russia, about 80% of its economy, of its oil sales, goes to China and India. So they can't afford to lose that. So I think Putin making a trip to India right now should be seen as no surprise and a way to strengthen the relationship. I also think the Trump threats to India, frankly, drives India to Russia, and it's counterproductive, but that's another issue.
And this is largely seen in the diplomatic circle as India's diplomatic split screen, where on one side of that screen, there is the potential purchase of advanced Russian fighter jets, as well as cheap oil. Now, on the American side, there is a collaboration on technology, trade and investment, and the hope that President Trump will lift his punishing tariffs. How long can India perform this balancing act of trying to make gestures to both Russia and India and the U.S.?
I think it can go for a long time, frankly. A lot of it depends on the volatility of the U.S. president and whether he has a consistent platform that people can rely on. That's always been the question. I think India and any other nation needs to do a balancing act, given the multipolar world that we now live in. So I think that we're not likely to change India's stance in any significant way. When I say we, the United States. And I think that Modi will continue to have a multipolar diplomacy, plus the fact that he's involved in a key component of the BRICS, the 20 or so nations now that are working more closely together, China, Russia, India especially.
And it's interesting you mentioned BRICS, because one of those countries in BRICS is China. And the relationship is quite a complicated one when you consider that Russia is a close partner of China, and that Beijing is a major source of weapons for Pakistan. And Pakistan is an arch rival of India. Does this underscore how India must navigate a complicated neighborhood, and doesn't it? And again, is Moscow a reliable counterweight for New Delhi?
I think Moscow is probably more reliable right now to India than the United States, and I think that's, from my point of view, that's unfortunate. It's also, I think, noteworthy you mentioning Pakistan, because Pakistan's the wild card in all of this. Its relationship with India, certainly, its relationship at times with China and Russia, Pakistan's growing relationship with the United States. Um, and I think that's also interesting given the uh, somewhat anti-Islamic stance that Trump has taken. Um, Pakistan's the wild card in this, but I don't think it's going to affect the economy or the economic relationships between Russia and India.
And some have described this as India being, between a rock and a hard place. And I want to get your thought on that as well.
Well, I don't think that India is in such a difficult position. In some ways, it's growing strength. Its economy is growing. It's an IT center, a growing IT center, which is going to be very important to Russia. It's going to be, in somewhat over the next few years, decades, I should say, is competitive to the United States IT sector. So I think India is in a stronger position than it might see. I think Modi feels that way. I think right now Russia is more in need of this relationship than India is. But I think both of them need the relationship.
And how much of a strong position is India when you consider the tariffs imposed by Trump? One would imagine that the last thing New Delhi would want to do is to aggravate an already very difficult phase of relations with Washington. How is the Trump administration likely scrutinizing this?
Well, I think that the tariffs may have gone on regardless of its stance with Russia. At the same time that Trump has increased the tariffs on India and the pressure, he's also allowed 2,000 Lukoil, which is Russian oil, 2,000 stations to operate. He's taken the prohibitions of Lukoil off as well. So that's a lot of oil supply. So I think it's more Trump's view of India than Trump's view of the India-Russian relationship. It's quite possible I'm wrong on that, but I think that the reality is that he's very much looking to find ways. One of his most important goals is to improve the relationship with Russia for whatever reasons. So I think that it's obviously a very complicated situation, but I think India is in a strong position.
While India has, over the years, reduced, or especially in this last quarter, reduced its purchase of Russian oil, it is now increasing its defense spending, moving from buying the Su-30 to the Su-50. How would Trump read that, especially because the U.S. is also looking to sell its own weapons and ammunition to countries as well?
Well, I think he's going to be less troubled by the fact that Russia is selling arms than the fact that the U.S. isn't. And so I think there will be some negotiations behind the scenes of perhaps increasing U.S. arms sales to India as well. And it's true that India has reduced its supply of its dependence on Russian oil. I think it's roughly from 40 to 30% over the last 3 years. But at the same time, it's in the interest of almost any country in the world to reduce its dependence on a single source. So I think that the Trump administration will look at ways to improve the relationship with India. I mean, after all, it's now the most populous country in the world, representing roughly, I think it is 15 to 20% of the population of the world. So I think that we simply can't ignore India either. And I think given that the transactional nature of this administration, I think that they'll reach out to India a little more behind the scenes. I think there may be public bluster, but I think behind the scenes there'll be some diplomatic outreach. I want to quickly change something that something that I said earlier. I don't see that the administration is anti-Islamic. I think they do have concerns of radical Islam.
Thank you so much for your time. We're following developments as this visit continues. A partner at Gainful Solutions, Stephen Hayes, a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, and always an honor. Thank you.